From the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, this is Space Shuttle Columbia Launch Control. The countdown for launch of Columbia on Space Shuttle mission STS-73 is continuing on schedule this morning. The window for launch of Columbia opens at 9:50 a.m. Eastern Time and extends for 2.5 hours. This is Shuttle Launch Control at T-minus 3 hours and holding, and all 7 of our astronauts who are planning on flying this morning are present and accounted for at breakfast. Everything continues to run smooth and with the vehicle, and all of the astronauts have been awakened and they're on schedule. We have Kathryn Thornton, Mission Specialist, as well as Payload Specialist Fred Leslie, Albert Sacco. This is our pilot, Kent Rominger, who will be flying for his first time today. Seated next to him is Mission Specialist Michael Lopez-Alegria, making his first flight into space today. And seated next to him is our commander, Kenneth Bowersox, the commander of this 7-person crew, making his 3rd flight into space today. And to round out the crew, we have Fred Leslie, payload specialist, as well as the 3rd mission specialist, Cady Coleman. All crew appear to be alert and ready to fly. Make this final attempt, we hope, at launching Columbia today. This is Shuttle Launch Control at T-minus 3 hours and holding, and we have live TV coverage of the crew donning their flight suits in the crew quarters. Commander Kenneth Bowersox is again suiting up for this attempt to launch today. Commander Bowersox was a pilot on STS-50, the first United States Microgravity Laboratory, and most recently served as pilot on STS-61, the first Hubble Space Telescope servicing mission. He's been joined by his pilot, Kent Rominger, who is a highly decorated Navy pilot whose last assignment with the Navy was during Desert Storm, where he served as operations officer for Fighter Squadron 211 aboard the USS Nimitz in the Arabian Gulf. Fred Leslie is one of our 2 payload specialists who will be flying today. He's making his first trip into space. Leslie holds a world record as a participant in the 200-person free fall formation as a skydiver. He's an avid skydiver. That occurred back in 1992. The crew members are being assisted with their launch and entry suits by suit technicians from both Kennedy Space Center and the Johnson Space Center. Michael Lopez-Alegria was born in Madrid, Spain, grew up in California, and has been a naval aviator since 1981. These suits are partially inflated to allow for added comfort and protection. Mission Specialist Cady Coleman, preparing to make her first trip into space today. She was born in South Carolina. And she's done some research for the Air Force and set endurance and tolerance records as a test subject in the centrifuge program. Albert Sacco, one of our 2 payload specialists, born in Massachusetts. He'll be working with the crystal growth experiments aboard this space shuttle mission. This will be his first space flight. Payload commander Kathryn Thornton, the most experienced as far as space flight goes. This is her, she's preparing for her fourth flight today. Again, she will be the payload commander aboard this mission. She's been an astronaut since 1984, and she's flown on missions STS-73, STS-49, and she was a spacewalk specialist aboard STS-61, the Hubble Space Telescope servicing mission. This is shuttle launch control, T-minus 3 hours in holding, and we have live TV coverage of our 7 crew members who will be flying aboard Space Shuttle Columbia this morning. Again, they're coming out of their crew quarters, getting onto the elevator, which will take them down to the Astrovan. Commander Bowersox with Payload Commander Kathryn Thornton, followed by the rest of their crew member, preparing for their drive out to the pad and for their greatly anticipated launch today. But at this time, everything continues to operate properly, and no technical issues are being worked. And we're just a few seconds from coming out of our hold at T-minus 3 hours, and we are at T-minus 3 hours and counting. This is shuttle launch control at T-minus 2 hours, 43 minutes and counting. The crew has arrived at the pad, and they are in the process now of entering the vehicle. Commander Kent Bowersox is preparing for his third mission aboard Space Shuttle. Commander Kent Bowersox has entered the vehicle, and now preparations are being made to assist Albert Sacco in entering the vehicle. He is one of 2 payload specialists preparing to fly today. Preparing next to enter the vehicle is pilot Kent Rominger on his first trip into space. Next to enter the vehicle is Kathy Thornton. She is the payload commander for mission STS-73 and a veteran of 3 shuttle missions. Cady Coleman, or Mission Specialist 1, is a captain in the Air Force and preparing for her first flight into space. This is shuttle launch control at T-minus 2 hours, 9 minutes and counting. 5 of the 7 astronauts are already on board the Space Shuttle Columbia. Fred Leslie at this time is preparing to make his way aboard the orbiter. He is one of 2 payload specialists on this 16-day mission and is responsible for the fluid flow experiments in the Space Lab. At this time, Michael Lopez-Alegria is preparing to board the vehicle. He will serve as the flight engineer on this mission.
Flight crew, this OTC on Air Ground 2 for a comm check.
CDR, PL2.
MS1?
MS2.
PS1, PS2.
Okay, I heard everybody. Kathy's got a squeak. Going
I'm going
to...
to try to get MS3.
Okay, that's it.
This is shuttle launch control at T-minus 48 minutes and counting, and we have live TV of the shuttle training aircraft departing the shuttle landing facility, being piloted by astronaut Bob Cabana, and he will remain aloft in this shuttle training aircraft through the duration of this count today and through launch. This is Shuttle Launch Control. We are at T-minus 20 minutes and counting.
Completion on 817 and 818. Copy. Safety console 818 complete. I copy without, give you 971. Copy.
This is Launch Director conducting a poll for a continuation of the count through launch. Payload Director?
Payload's a go, Jim.
Copy. Engineering Director? Jim, engineering is go. Copy. S&MA Director?
Jim, obviously, until we get the range thing resolved, we're no-go.
Copy that. Range weather? All constraints are green. Copy that. And Columbia, as soon as we get this problem cleared up with the range, I think we'll be in a configuration where we can launch today. So have a good flight, and we'll see you back here in a few days.
Jim, well, thanks a lot. We're looking forward to getting on orbit and getting to work. 34.
Okay.
This is Shuttle Launch Control at T-minus 9 minutes and holding with just under 40 seconds remaining in our hold. And those words from Launch Director Jim Harrington to NASA Test Director John Guidi that we will pick up the count at T-minus 9 minutes on time. And if we don't have word from the range that they have resolved their problem, then we will hold at T-minus 5 minutes until that problem is resolved. All weather issues have been cleared. We're not working any weather concerns at this point, either from a launch standpoint or a return to a launch site landing abort point.
5 minutes and wait.
We are 4 minutes away from picking up the count.
TLS, it's D.
T-minus 9 minutes and counting.
TLS copy. Conquer zoom on my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark.
T-minus 9 minutes and counting.
TLS auto sequence has been initiated. TLS is go for OAA retract.
We're in the process now of retracting the orbiter access arm that permits the crew to enter and depart from the orbiter Columbia.
SRO 212.
Go ahead, SRO.
Yes, sir. You have a range clear to launch. We are go.
I copy. Thank you. Launch Director Entity.
You're clear to launch.
Copy. Thank you. All stations will pick up the count momentarily. TLS, pick up the count on your mark. TLS copies. Contour zoom on my mark. Three, 2, 1, mark.
And we're at T-minus 5 minutes and counting.
CLT OTC, perform APU start.
We have a go for APU start.
APU start and work.
CDR OTC, reconfigure heaters.
And work.
No problems are being reported from the crew.
Your visors and initiate O2 flow. This test team has worked really hard to get you to this point. It's your turn for a great 16-day mission.
We're closing our visors, and we can't wait to get to work. TLS is go for EP LH2 pressurization.
T-minus 1 minute, 45 seconds and counting. Launch operations continue to go well this morning as the Space Shuttle Columbia soon will begin its 16-day mission to continue microgravity research. T-minus 1 minute, 30 seconds. T-minus 60 seconds and counting. T-minus 50 seconds and counting. And we are transferring to orbiter internal power at this time. Columbia is now running off its 3 onboard fuel cells. Coming up for a go for auto sequence start.
TLS Ulysses go for...
And we have a go for auto sequence start. Columbia's onboard computers have primary control of all the vehicle's critical functions.
20.
T-minus 15 seconds. 12, 10, 9, 8, 7. We have a go for main engine start. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And liftoff. Liftoff of the Space Shuttle Columbia, catapulting scientific knowledge through microgravity research.
We're in a roll, Houston.
Houston now controlling, Columbia underway on its 18th trip to space, rolling on course for a 172-mile high, 39-degree inclination orbit.
And roll program, Houston.
Columbia's altitude 15,000 feet. 3 engines on board Columbia are now throttling back to 2/3 throttle to prepare the spacecraft to pass through the area of maximum air pressure and go supersonic. Columbia's speed now 800 miles per hour, altitude 34,000 feet, 3 nautical miles downrange from the launch pad.
Columbia, go ahead, throttle up.
Hey, we heard you that time, plane. Go ahead, throttle.
3 main engines on Columbia now back at full throttle. Columbia is now airborne for 1.5 minutes. It's burned almost 2.25 million pounds of propellant already, weighing less than half of what it did at launch. 3 main engines on Columbia working well at full throttle. Good hydraulic systems, good electrical systems. Altitude now 100,000 feet, 14 miles downrange from the launch pad. Columbia traveling 2,800 miles per hour. Flight controllers are standing by for burnout and separation of the twin solid rocket first stage, upcoming in just about 8 seconds. Good solid rocket booster separation is confirmed. Columbia now on its 3 main engines, second stage. Altitude 185,000 feet, 38 nautical miles downrange from the launch pad. Columbia traveling at 3,500 miles per hour, continuing in a steep climb.
Columbia, performance nominal.
Performance nominal.
That call to the spacecraft indicates that performance of the first stage solid rockets was just as planned.
Columbia, 2-engine Ben Guerrier.
2-engine Ben.
And Columbia can now perform an emergency transatlantic landing at Ben Guerir, Morocco if required. All systems continue to be go. Altitude 250,000 feet, downrange from Kennedy Space Center about 65 nautical miles.
Thanks, Sox. We'll let you know.